Hello and welcome to the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative podcast. My name is Rim. I'm an artist, a certified life coach and an NLP practitioner, and the creator of the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative retreats. Passionate about celebrating joy and beauty in the everyday, especially when things are falling apart, I'm insatiably curious about human nature, and I look into the world with reverence, awe, and a sense of wonder. Tune in for stories exploring healing through creativity, art, embracing sensitivity, and navigating the subconscious mind. I'll talk about the struggles that highly sensitive and creative people face, and share my experiences, insights, and favorite tools along the way. I'm here to empower you to turn what we often deem to be a curse into your biggest gift. I believe that the more we create together, the more we heal the world. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative podcast. I'm so happy and grateful for you tuning in. Hello. Happy summer if you are listening from the northern hemisphere, and if you are in the southern part of the world, happy winter. Both seasons are for slowing down. And I decided to delay my departure from my little Mediterranean island for another month. I'm leaving in August. So in the meantime, I'm soaking in the magic of the Mediterranean sun, and I've been experimenting actually a lot with my schedule and how I plan my days. As I'm currently building my website, and it's almost done. Yeah, I've been experimenting with doing things more slowly and actually more steadily in a way. So I'm quite happy with what I learned with this experimentation, and I will be talking about this in another episode. But for today, we're gonna talk about one of my favorite topics, which is astrology. Learning about astrology was part of my quest of understanding myself more deeply, and I felt drawn to the notion of us humans being connected to the stars and the cosmos. I found that learning more about that modality helped me to put words into things that I could feel but could not quite explain. And it helped quieting the noise of all the experts and other people's expectations and people saying, there is one way of doing things. Something I talk a lot about is the notion of consistency and of being professional. The older I get, the more I think these are very personal, very subjective notions. It's not one size fits all. And I found that diving deeper into my own astrology chart helped me to understand and, of course, experiment for myself what being professional means and what consistency, what could it mean for me working for my own body, my own energy, and my own soul. So I feel like it's really helped me to connect even further with my own authentic voice as a sensitive and creative person. And today, to talk about this topic, I am joined by fellow creative HSP Simona Berardozzi. Simona is an empowerment and relationship coach, and she has a background in clinical psychology, family therapy, and she's very passionate about illustration. In fact, you can see several of her illustrations on her Instagram account. Simona likes to use an holistic approach, blending science, spirituality, and creativity as a way to work with her clients. She's also deeply passionate about astrology, and she loves using it as a tool to help her clients to have a deeper understanding of themselves, their core wounds, and their soul purpose in this lifetime. So this was a very flowy, deep conversation. I felt like Simona is a kindred spirit. And we talked about different placements that we felt were really important as a sensitive and creative person to know, especially if you're new to astrology or not so new, but maybe you need some, refreshing, because it can be a little bit overwhelming when you start learning about it, because there's so many elements, so many things. It's not just what you see in the horoscope. Actually, it's not at all what you see in the horoscope. We talk about this a bit in our conversation, but for this first part, this first episode dedicated to astrology, we felt like there are 4 placements to begin with that are great to begin with, which are the sun, moon, rising, and the 5th house. And these are 4 placements that can really help us, sensitive and creative people, to feel and be more empowered. And if you would like to look at your chart while listening to the podcast, here are some websites where you can get a free natal chart, which I will also put in the show notes. So you can use astro.com, astroseek.com, and Cafe Astrology. These are 3 good websites to start with. At some points in the conversation, you will hear Simona. This is only if you listen to the audio version. You will hear Simona saying, "Oh, hello there," seemingly randomly in the middle of the conversation. But it's because my cat Twinkle made her appearance on the camera. So yeah, if you don't see the video version, that's a heads up for what's happening at this moment. But without further ado, let's dive in the magical world of the cosmos and its imprint on us. Hello, Simona. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Reem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, and I'm glad that we finally made it. Last time we were supposed to have a recording last week, but there was a big storm. I keep saying this on a lot of my podcast interview. Every time I'm scheduling a recording with someone, there's a big storm and internet kind of breaks loose. There's something. But today's,
No,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes. Very excited for today.
me too. And before we dive in today's topic, I would like you to tell us a bit more about you. Where are you from? Where do you live now?
Mhm. Yes, I am Italian. I came from a little sea town near Rome, and but currently I'm living in London, and I've been living in London for a little bit more than 7 years.
Okay, great. And how is it growing up in Italy? Like, do you feel that? I say that because often when we think about, like, non-Italians, when we think about
Yes.
Italy, we kind of have a lot of fantasies. The beauty of the landscape, the
hmm
food, the
Oh,
culture, the
yes.
arts,
Yes.
the arts.
Mhm.
How did it impact you?
Oh, I think that was the beautiful part of growing up in Italy. I think that I felt quite lucky because my family, they have a little villa in the countryside, which is also very near to the sea. So like 50 minutes driving, I could be by the sea and also enjoying the landscape of the countryside. So from this side, it was beautiful. Also, my mom, she's an amazing cook, and I'm not like that at all, unfortunately. So I've been enjoying a lot of food, amazing food growing up. And also I was studying in Rome, so I spent a lot of time in Rome, and I always said that the beautiful things of Rome is that you can walk in a random church and you can find like a painting from Caravaggio like that unexpectedly. And so it's amazing. This is the beautiful part of living in Italy.
Yeah, well, I've been lucky to travel to Rome many, many times. And it's my favorite city. No, well, I love Venice too, but I really loved Rome. And I feel like that exactly. Wherever I would go, I would see art. Like even a simple piazza, something simple,
Yes,
small street, and then you
yes.
follow it and you see something, even if it's not a painting or a sculpture by a big master. There is something
Hmm.
in the air or in the way things are put together
Yes.
that
Mm-mm-mm.
breathe this yeah, kind of
Mhm,
sense
mhm.
of beauty and elegance
Yeah.
and yeah.
Mhm. I agree 100%.
And tell me, we connected because we are both HSPs. We connected through
Yes.
sorry, a program for
It's
HSPs.
okay.
I would like to know, when did you learn you were an HSP, and did it change your views on life or on things?
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. And I think I discovered that when I was around a little bit after I moved to UK, because I was doing a very fast-paced job. Where we were, I was working in a hostel with young men and men with complex needs, so addiction, criminal record. So it was very, very difficult, a lot of trauma. And I realized that I was being very impacted by it every day. And respect and my colleague, I was struggling a lot to, I mean, I was doing my job, but it was draining me so much. And I don't remember why. One day I just Googled it, like, why am I so sensitive? Something like that, something very silly. And I think I found the book from Dr. Helen Aron. I read it and I was like, wow. I was like, oh my gosh. I felt seen for the first time, and I felt, oh, so there is nothing wrong with me. There are also other people that are like this. And but for a period of time, I think I left that book and I came back to understand more about what does it mean being a highly sensitive person, like during COVID, because I have more time to work on myself. So I dive deep more in what does it mean. I read the book again, and I discovered a lot of mentors that they work around these. I saw also the documentary from Dr. Helen Haron, which I loved it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
literally changed everything.
that's so interesting. I had the same experience, and I've talked to many people. It was kind of similar. Like we learn about it because we're drained or
Mhm,
burned out or exhausted from usually a work environment. But then somehow
mhm,
we kind of drop it there. It's like, okay, that's already big
mhm,
information. And then time goes on and we
mhm.
kind of forget about it. Maybe that's why
Yes,
a subconscious needs time to process and, to
yeah.
let information sink
Mhm,
in. And then we got
mhm.
back to it. And for me, it was also during COVID. Yeah.
Oh,
But
really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Same as you. I learned about it. I forgot about it, and during COVID, I rediscovered it.
Mhm,
And that
mhm.
time, I dug deeper. Mm.
It's really interesting what you said, that probably our unconscious needs a little bit of time to sink in with the information. Yeah, 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 yeah. Fun, interesting that.
Yeah, totally. And I noticed a similar pattern with astrology and human design. I'm talking about human design because, as you probably know,
Hmm.
I kind of like this modality as well. Even though now I think I
Hmm.
prefer astrology, but I still like both. I think they complete each other, complement each other. But anyway, my point was they're kind of, because it's usually when you kind of learn more about it, it's kind of changing your life because it's a lot of information that helps to understand yourself more. And quite
Mm-hmm.
often, people who I need to drink.
Yes.
People who come across this information, these modalities, at first are like, oh, wow, interesting. But then somehow it becomes a bit overwhelming. And then they're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
put it aside for a while. And then something else happen in their life, blah, 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 blah. And then they come back to it and then they really dig deeper. And then usually it doesn't go like this modality plays a big role in their lives. Was it like that for you
Yeah.
in astrology?
Yes, yes. I think that for astrology, in some way, when I discovered it, it was as well during COVID. During COVID, a lot of self-work.
Yeah.
And I think because initially I enrolled myself with the Rising Woman platform,
Yeah.
which literally changed my life as well. And back then they helped you to they provide you, they were linked with a website that it will give you like a very free a free kind of reading of your chart. So it was the first time that I read everything about myself, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot. But in a way, even if it was a lot, it was super interesting. So the more time it was going by, and the more I was so fascinating that I wanted to learn more. So even if it wasn't really constant, let's say, but it was, I was a kind of a learning like month by month, so it grows by time, and yeah, I found it so fascinating. Even then, I remember that I felt seen. I don't know. And I always been really skeptical with astrology before this, because my mom was kind of, I don't want to say passionate about astrology, but she was the one that it was often reading your daily horoscope. And I was saying, what are you reading? There is no point. I mean, there are other, because I'm Cancer Sun. So I remember I was telling her there are 1,000 people in the world that they have their sun in Cancer. And how they can predict what is going to happen in our life? And in fact, when it comes just to the daily horoscope, only about your sun sign, it doesn't say much about yourself. But I learn after that that when you look to your chart, your rising sign, your moon sign, you started to dive deep, and it's when everything changes. You can have a very full picture of yourself, basically.
Mm, I agree. I agree. Yeah, totally. I had similar experience. I always wanted to read not always, but kind of like to read the astro prediction, the horoscope, but
Hmm.
somehow I felt it's kind of bullshit. But I don't know why I was attracted
Hmm.
to read it. Maybe because it felt like telling a story. I don't know. Maybe because it's
Yeah.
an ancient, kind of ancient knowledge or wisdom somehow. I think a
Hmm.
part of me somehow knew there was something true to it, something right, like,
Yes.
useful to it, but of course
Hmm.
not in that way. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's the
Hmm.
kind of pop culture of pop vulgarization.
Yes.
It helps for people to be aware of it, but it's actually it doesn't really help because it's not really accurate at all.
Yeah. Mm-mm,
Although
mm-mm,
I have to
mm-mm.
say there is one horoscope prediction that I really like and I read every week. It's Rob Bresney. Do you know him from
Ah,
Free Will
okay.
Astrology?
No, no.
I
Interesting.
Yeah, he's very different, totally different from
Hmm.
the rest. It's yeah, I
Yeah.
will put the link in the show notes. I think I sometimes talk
Oh,
about him.
thanks.
Yeah, I think his style is very unique and not it's not like everybody is the same. It's the way he talks about it is kind of mystic and fun and
Hmm.
it's kind of opening possibilities. It's not like, oh, it's going to happen exactly like this, everything like that.
Hmm.
No, it's more about asking questions or helping us to think in a different way or in a way
Mm-hmm.
that could be helpful for us. So I think this one is good.
Mm-hmm. To reflect. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know
yeah,
what
yeah,
you
yeah.
mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
Before we talk more about astrology, I'm curious to
Mm-hmm.
know, since you were kind of skeptical towards astrology, what were your childhood dreams, like when you were a little kid in near Rome, or
Mm-hmm.
going to the seaside or the countryside? What were
Mm-hmm.
you hoping? I don't know what what melody was your heart singing?
Yeah. And I think that even at an early age, I always wanted to know that I wanted to help people. Although I I didn't know yet. I think that when I started to be around 10, 11, I decided that I wanted to be a doctor, although I changed later on. And I remember I was saying, yes, I'm gonna go to Africa to help with all the doctors that they go there to help the people that they are struggling with war and da da da. But I also always loved the art, like drawing since a young age. So also that was another thing that I really wanted to do. And I always loved drawing. And although I think I never dreamed about to become an artist, but it always been a big important part since I was little.
Okay, so helping, nurturing some sort of creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting for someone like not. I'm not trying to stereotype, but maybe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's archetype, not stereotype. That's different.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
What you describe
I like that.
yeah, what you describe seems quite fitting for cancer sun,
Mm-hmm.
cancer sign at
Absolutely,
least.
absolutely, absolutely. Because cancer is a very, actually, I recently discovered, and I was really fascinating about it, that in the Egyptian calendar, I mean, the Egyptian chart was starting rather than from Aries, was starting from Cancer, because Cancer is the archetypal of Cancer is the mother, so the nurturing mother that it can give birth to a child, they can give birth to a project, etc. And it was the time where in Egypt was the field become ready to grow element and so yeah, definitely cancer have has this energy of being nurturing, also to be connected with the spiritual realm, to be creative, absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm, that's so interesting. Yeah, it makes
Mm-mm-mm.
sense. Before the child, we need the mom, the mother.
Yes.
Yeah. Or yeah, or at least it would be the life of the child before he was born or she was born in the like the 9 months of
Hmm.
in the mom's belly. Hmm, interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
I wonder how it changed to Aries being the first sign. Who
I
changed it?
think it might be, I think it might be, I don't remember, but I think it might be also connected. I think it could be a little bit earlier on, but I think with the Roman and Catholic calendar, because Aries is the spring, so
Yeah,
everything starts with the spring, so
yeah,
it's connected with that. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
In a way, it also makes sense.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so since we've already started talking about cancer and the sun. Because when we were preparing for this, we thought, okay, there's so many things to talk about. Like astrology is such a vast topic. We can't talk about everything.
Mhm,
So I wanted to be kind of an introduction and how it could help like highly sensitive people in particular.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
we decided that okay, so we still start from the beginning. which is the big three, which are
hmm
sun,
hmm
moon, and rising. And it's so
hmm
funny because so your sun is Cancer, your moon is,
Taurus,
and your rising is
Pisces.
exactly. And me, my sun is Taurus, my moon is Pisces, and my rising is Cancer. So we have the same
Yes,
combination, but in a different order.
yes, 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 yes. And I think that's why maybe we connect it so well because we have a lot of
Yeah,
elements in common, a lot of
yeah.
energy in common. Yeah.
That's true. And but then still, even though we have the same signs, same combination, different order, we're still very, very different. So then
Of course.
I think, of course, for so many reasons, but if we talk about astrology, so what would be the difference between the sun, the moon, and the rising? So, for example, you have your sun in Cancer, I have the rising in Cancer. Does it change the way the Cancer archetype is being expressed, whether it's sun
hmm
or the
hmm
rising, for example?
I think that the themes of Cancer remain, so the nurturing part, the creative part, it change a little bit because when it comes to the sun represent the core of your personality. For example, the sun in our solar system is at the center of our solar system. So it basically gives the light and warmth to the whole solar system. And so it represents like a metaphor that for us, our sun sign and what makes us shine, basically. So it helps us to understand how we can reach our most fulfilled life. Whether instead the rising sign is still an important part of our personality, um, but it represents more like, in particular for esoteric astrology, which is very much focused on the rising sign. The rising sign represents the reason why your soul has been incarnating in this lifetime. And so it could be like, for example, in a rising Cancer, it can be that you're here to develop your capacity to nurturing others, but without being overwhelmed by it, like being able to nurturing, but at the same time developing healthy boundaries. But your main purpose is to nurture and maybe use a little bit of creative, while which it can be linked with your Taurus sun, while nurturing other people.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. That's so it's great, but I'm sorry, I have some questions about that because I'm a little bit okay. So if the right in that sense, if the rising is to like the purpose of reincarnation, if you believe in reincarnation, that is of course. But then the sun is you. So for example, if we take our cases, so if the purpose of my soul is to learn to become a nurturer with a bit of creativity and without feeling overwhelmed. Okay, but so you, what about you? Since you also, so you also have this energy, this big energy. Does it mean that it comes naturally to you because it's your sun? So naturally, you already embody the nurturer.
It depends also to have that's a good question, and I think the difference it can be also where in which house you have your sun sign, your rising, your moon, because because the sign represent the quality, like of the sun, of the moon, etc. Whether the house represent where these actions are taking place. So, for example, I have my sun in Cancer in the fifth house, which is the house of creativity. And so, for example, it was also the house of children. So, for example, I love drawing, I love children illustration. And in my daily job, I work with family and children. So, one of the best part is literally when I sit down and I do some drawing with children. I have so much fun. And so, this could be one thing, for example.
Okay, 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 okay. Interesting. Okay. So the sun is like your main identity, it's the core, it's your core, kind of
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
energy that
Hmm.
that the
Yeah,
if your astrology is like a tree, your all your
yeah.
planets are on a tree, the sun would be like the trunk. We said trunk. Yeah,
The center, we can
the
say, the
center. Okay.
center, yeah.
Or the
Hmm.
solar
Hmm.
system, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think also that I remember once I was reading something really interesting that to reach your fullest, because we are always a work in progress, we are always working in on ourselves, and so to reach your highest self, it would be like a matter to being able to work on the themes of your sun sign and your rising sign, because they both represent your personality but in a different way. In
Hmm.
fact, for example, sometimes some astrologers, not everyone, fortunately, they describe like the rising sign like your mask.
I
They
was gonna say
imagine
that.
that you
Yeah.
give it. Yeah, and I don't really like it. I think it gives a very negative connotation, and it's kind of superficial. No, the rising sign is it's a beautiful part of yourself, and also if you have a planet in your rising sign or in your sign depends. It might have a different weight because, for example, in my rising sign I have a Jupiter. So Jupiter, it's all about expansion, it takes space. So sometimes I actually identify myself more with the Pisces themes that Cancer themes, which they have a lot of things in common, Pisces and Cancer.
Yeah, they
The
are
only
both
thing
water
is
signs.
that,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
They are both water signs.
Yes, 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 yes. They're very nurturing.
I want to say something about the mask because I understand that you
Mhm,
could feel it's superficial or something like that, but the way I saw
mhm,
it is I read it also in some sources, but I found it that I thought it makes sense. It's they say it's like the way people see you, like the first
mhm,
maybe the first people who don't necessarily know you when they first meet
mhm,
you, that's how they see you. So like for example in my case, okay, I'm a Taurus sun, but
mhm,
maybe when you meet me for the first time you might not see the Taurus so strongly in me. Maybe you would see what would strike you is my Cancerian attributes, so maybe my
mhm,
I don't know, like empathetic side, or kind of softer,
mhm,
um,
mhm.
this kind of not your softer.
Kind,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sensitive.
yeah, yeah. This
Mhm.
kind of thing. Whereas, but you might not know you might not realize my my stubbornness when you don't know me. But once you know me, then you realize, oh my gosh, such a
I know I'm the same. Yeah, literally, I'm the same because I have my moon in Taurus, so a lot of stubbornness there.
because for you, for example, okay, I felt like so your rising is Pisces. It makes sense in a way. It's the first thing I see from you. I found that like when I
Mhm,
first met you, it's true that these two signs are quite similar, so it's a bit difficult. But if I understand well, Pisces is the archetype of the dreamer, the spiritualist,
mhm.
right? And that's kind of the image I had on your
Oh,
profile on
thanks.
Instagram, and also the name of your Instagram profile is it's back to inner light, right? The
Yes, back to your inner light. Yes,
Yeah, in a way, it has this spiritual kind of mystic vibe,
yes,
poetic
yes.
vibe. And for me, poetic, like this kind of poetic thing, is more of a Pisces thing than Cancer.
Thanks, thanks. I'm really happy they give you that vibes, and I think you're right because, for example, a lot of people tell me that I give this vibe that I'm always lost in the clouds, a little bit somewhere else, Whether instead, if you know me a bit more, I think I'm a bit lucky that I have my moon in Taurus, so it grounds me back a little bit. Otherwise, with all this water, I would be woo, constantly somewhere else.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I know that dilemma. Yeah, totally.
But yeah, no, definitely, you're right. That's the rising sign, rather than be a mask, is the vibes that you give to the people that don't know you. They give the first vibe, let's say.
The makeup, your makeup.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I like
your
that.
clothes, right? Your clothes,
Oh,
your
yes,
fashion style, how you dress and how you,
absolutely.
yeah. Okay,
As
that's
well,
interesting.
absolutely.
And uh, and then the moon.
Yes, the moon represent our inner world, our emotional side. But not only our emotions, it represents also how we react to this emotion and how we deal with their emotions. And so generally the themes of the sign that you have in your moon, generally people don't notice them at the beginning because only the one that really knows you, they are able to know that part of yourself. For example, for me, that I have my moon in Taurus, the people that don't know me well, they will never. I'm always very kind, polite. They would never expect from me being really stubborn. That I like to do things in my own way. I like to. If I say no, it's no. If I say yes, it's gonna be yes.
Excuse me, I have a little disclaimer here. Tauruses are kind and nice.
No, of course it is. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing because I was I was chastised for being a Taurus in my family when I was a child. It
Uh-huh.
was very convenient to use it as a way to,
Hmm.
oh, you're the Taurus one. You're always stubborn. You're always. And honestly, there are a lot of Libra in my family, and I can testify
Oh,
that
really?
Libras are super stubborn as well.
Oh, yes, yes. My sister, she's Libra, yes.
So it's, yeah, I think there are so many signs. I mean, there's so much subtleties, and as we said, like it's a
Hmm.
combination of all of these things, and there is also the
Yes.
aspect and all of that. So it's a bit too easy to say, oh, you're this, so you
Hmm.
must be that. Sometimes it's true. I mean, of course there are archetypes, so there
Hmm.
is something true, but
Hmm.
I like to say this a lot. Like, it's like for each energy you have two
Hmm.
aspects. You have the helpful positive one, and you have the, like,
Hmm.
the light, and then you have the shadow or the darker side of
Yes.
that energy. So being stubborn, it's actually,
Hmm.
it can be very negative
Hmm.
if you use it to, like, to being capricious and be like no, and you can become narrow-minded and being, adverse to change. So that would be a negative expression of being stubborn. But then the positive expression is, also could be, you don't give up, you're perseverant,
Yes,
you keep
absolutely.
going. Also, you don't let people walk all over you in a way, because you kind of stand on your ground, so it can be positive.
Hmm.
For It's the same for all of this
Absolutely.
energy, like whether it's the Taurus energy or others. You
Hmm.
need, I think it's up to us. That's why so I think it's great to learn astrology, because then you learn these archetypes, and then you can see how it resonates with you, and it can guide you, and you
Hmm.
can use it to, if you want to. I think it's helpful to kind of learn the positive expression of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
What do you think?
Yes, 100%. Yes, I completely agree because I think that I remember that at the beginning when I was learning about astrology, I was which is quite normal at the beginning, like focusing on every single element in a separate way. Oh, hello!
Hello.
Is that your cat? So beautiful.
She's called Twinkle, and I think she knows we're talking about astrology and the stars, and she wanted to be part of
Oh,
it. Really?
oh, that's so nice.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, oh no, that's okay. And so I was focusing on every single element in a separate way. Instead, the beautiful and difficult part is zoom out and see your birth chart as a whole, because as you were saying, at the end, we all have each sign in us, inside us. It's just that some elements are more highlighted than others, but we have all of them basically. And I agree with what you were saying, that it's important to learn the light and the shadow of every archetype, because it really gives you a very good insight about what you need to work on yourself, what instead are your strengths.
So it means that basically there is no bad chart, because I know, or bad placement. I hear
Yeah.
people saying, "Oh, I'm so unlucky." Like if they don't like a sign, for example. Like I know
Hmm.
Scorpio tends to have a bad bad rap, for example.
Hmm.
Also, oh my God, I have Scorpio in my chart. Ooh. But actually, the Scorpio energy is good. My fifth house is in Scorpio, Jupiter in Scorpio, fifth
Oh,
house.
yes.
So I'm like,
Very
okay,
big
great.
placement.
It's a big placement, yeah.
Very interesting. Yes, 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 absolutely.
Well, it means that yeah, but it's being expressed in a different way. But then I could by learning about this, I was, because fifth house is the house of creativity. So I was
Hmm.
thinking, okay, so what would it mean for me to embody Scorpio when it comes to creativity? The Scorpio energy, how it
Um,
can help me, right, in that area.
I wonder if, and tell me what do you think, of course, because I'm thinking that we have the fifth house that is the house of creativity. There is a Scorpio energy, which means that generally Scorpio they like to go deep when they learn something or whatever it is, like using your creativity. You like to do it on a deep way, not on a superficial way. And also you have a Jupiter that it's all about philosoph philos philos philosophy, learning new things, psychologists as well. So I wonder if maybe you can, at times, you have ever felt to use your creativity to discover yourself as a way to learn about yourself, to grow, or also to help other people, to share some things that you learn with other people. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes. Yes, I can feel it. That's why I call my website Dream Creative Energy.
Yes.
At that time, I didn't know. I didn't know about that placement at all. I
Mhm,
discovered this like over the past few months, but I thought that's so
mhm,
uncanny. I've been obsessed with this idea of creativity because I have a background in design, and I went to art school,
mhm.
and
Wow.
yeah, I've always, my parents were artists, and I was
Oh,
I was
wow.
I always like to say my parents kind of how do we say that, sorry, brainwashed me brainwashed
Oh,
me
yes.
into the arts. It would have been difficult to not to be. They were really like, but
Not
anyway,
true.
I'm not gonna go there today. But I remember that like I started a brand when I was younger in London,
Hmm.
and it was nice, but very quickly I felt like it's frustrating me from a creative point of view, and it's also felt
Mm.
like I felt like the I didn't feel fulfilled. Initially I did, but very quickly I didn't feel fulfilled, but I didn't know why. And then I went working as a fashion designer and all of that, and I was not feeling fulfilled either. And when I decided to stop fashion stuff, I remember many people asked me, "Oh, well, you can do some art workshop, or you can teach me
Mhm.
styling." I was trying styling a bit, but I also didn't feel fulfilled. And I was like, I can't be like I've had some people asking me to give them some art classes, but I didn't like it because I felt
Mhm.
it's superficial. Although I'm not saying art is superficial at all, but for me, I felt I can't go deep enough. I need to go deep with the
Mhm.
creativity. For me,
Mhm.
art is a vehicle for depth and like self knowledge. It's a personal journey. I can't
Mhm.
teach how to paint watercolor, how to make flowers in
Yes.
watercolor. I can't. It's boring me to death. Even though, and I don't think I would be a good teacher for that. There are lots of very good people
Mhm.
who can do it in a very good, like, helpful way. For me, I would be like,
Mhm.
but I can teach you how painting with watercolor can help you explore your psyche.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Exactly. And instinctually, I was trying to do these workshops about creativity. So one that I was doing
Mhm.
that had a lot of success was color symbolism.
Oh,
uh
wow.
like, show me your colors, I will tell you who you are.
Yes,
This kind of
that's so
thing.
cool.
Yeah, or okay, styling, but in order to express yourself, not just to make
Mhm.
nice clothes. It's more about that stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
And eventually I shifted into doing coaching, and initially
Mhm.
I was struggling a bit on how I can put the two together, because usually coaches
Mhm.
are coaches and artists are artists. And but or you
Mhm.
have art coach who coach artists to become
Oh,
artists
yeah.
or to have an art business. But I feel like, no, it's not what I want to do. I want to
Mhm.
explore our inner world. I want to explore personal development,
Mhm.
knowing yourself, feeling better about yourself, intuition, all of these things, but in a
Mhm.
creative way.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes. And sometimes it's a journey to learn how we can embrace our creativity and our gift. Sometimes it doesn't come up immediately, so it's just a matter to uh, try until at one point we kind of figure it out.
It's true, but I have to say, learning about this in astrology really helped me. It's not
Hmm.
that it
Hmm.
it didn't help. Like it's not that I learned something about myself, because I kind of came to that conclusion, but it helped me to put the words, to
Hmm. Yeah.
clarify things. It helped me to for things to kind of click together. It's not okay. I read about
Hmm.
this. It took me a while to kind of process it, and but
Hmm.
after a while, it kind of all clicked, and I was, it makes sense, and it helped me
Hmm. Hmm.
to really to make it mine, and to understand that I don't need to, because all of this advice everywhere, especially marketing coaches,
Yes.
could tell you how you should do you can't be an artist and a coach, you have to choose.
Yes.
Like, all of this
I know.
messaging. But like stopping listening to them and instead learning about the astrology, for me was really helpful.
Hmm.
That's why
Hmm.
I wanted to have an episode about astrology, because I felt like I think it can be helpful for so many people to
Yes, I know.
yeah, to put words into something they feel, but they don't know how to explain it really, it's this kind of
Hmm.
things. Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree because sometimes it happened the same to me. I kind of have a sense on the background of what I wanted or an idea. But after I learned astrology, helped me to really understand and to put together a few pieces. And I started to think, everything makes sense. And otherwise, by myself, probably would have taken much more time, much more time.
Yeah, and since we are highly sensitive people, even though we are quite intuitive, we
Hmm.
also have this amazing, amazing ability to doubt ourselves and to overthink and
Yes,
and all of
yes,
that.
yes, 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 yes.
So yeah, so totally. So since we talk about my fifth house placement, we were gonna talk about this later, but since we talk about this now, let's continue with that topic, because creativity, well, it's a big topic for this podcast. It's the
Hmm.
empowered, sensitive, and creative. So here
Hmm.
it's all
Hmm.
about honing in your creative energy, your self-expression
mhm.
and all of that. So what about you? Your
Mhm.
fifth house is in Cancer, right?
So basically, I have my fifth house in Cancer, my with my son, and so for me, drawing it's always been a really big part of my life. And I remember that when I was transitioning to college from secondary school, I wanted to study art. But there wasn't a college in that it was teaching you art in my hometown, and it was only in Rome, which was far away to travel every day. So I decided at the end to took another path. But for me, I remember that when I was little, I wanted to become a comic artist because I loved manga, anime. I was always drawing manga, anime. So it was a big part. And I'm glad that during COVID, for a big time, I was really disconnected by drawing because I started to study psychology and so the nurturing part with cancer. And and I was really glad that during the COVID I was able to come back to illustration, to drawing, because otherwise I remember that I felt that there was a like a big piece missing inside.
I totally get it. I think, yeah,
Hmm, hmm,
when we have a drawing or kind of some sort of creative or artistic thing within us, if we don't
hmm,
express
hmm,
it after a while, it feels like it's missing. I also didn't draw. I used to draw when I was a kid, and then I studied fashion, and I
hmm.
stopped drawing because at art school, the teacher said I don't draw well, and I developed a very
Really?
yeah, and I developed a kind of big lack of confidence towards my drawing ability. It kind of killed my love for
Hmm,
drawing. It's insane when you think about it. And then I was working in fashion actually had no time to draw because I
hmm,
arrived on the market just when everything became on the computer. So
hmm,
totally changed. So there was no drawing as I thought there would be, and at the end, and I felt like same as like I felt say something that is missing.
hmm,
And now that I found drawing again, it's like so I totally relate, and I think many of
hmm,
my
hmm, hmm.
listeners can relate.
I'm sorry for your experience because I also know about an illustrator that I love. She's one of my favorite. That she has your same experience with a teacher, and for a long time she said, "No, I can't draw, I can't draw," and now she's really good. So teachers sometimes can do so much damage they don't even realize.
Yes, yeah. I'm following some art accounts on Instagram, and almost I think 99% of artists there they say they have the same experience. If it's not drawing, it's
Really?
maybe their painting ability. It's some sort of things related to their artistic talent that was
Oh gosh.
criticized and shamed by the teachers at some point, and which. When you say you didn't choose to go to art school, I wanted to say, well done for you. I mean, sorry. I mean, art school can be good and it can teach you
Hmm,
good things. I mean, I'm not going to say it was a good experience overall for me. I did learn a lot of things, and it was,
hmm,
kind of, despite this competition and shaming from the teachers, still lucky to
hmm,
spend these years, reading about art and visiting museums and
hmm,
drawing and painting and all of that. That's good, but actually, do you really need school for that? Especially now we have internet, we
hmm,
have access to everything, and once we get a bit older we realize that our life is very long compared to the few years at school, and if you love it
yeah,
you can learn by yourself. Now there's so many ways as well to learn, online courses and workshops and
yeah,
stuff. And if you learn that way
absolutely.
a little bit older, when you know more why you want to do it, and also you not don't go to that academic route, you're probably not going to meet these teachers who poo poo on you on your self-esteem.
Yeah, yeah.
So you might develop
Absolutely.
you might develop a better relationship to your art, than those of us who have been red marked by academia.
That's true. That's so true. Oh gosh.
So yeah. It's funny. Sometimes, like, there was a time when I really hated fashion. I was like, why? I hate this world because, it's kind of a difficult
Mm,
industry. And, well, anyway. And I remember I thought,
mhm,
why I didn't study psychology? Why am I not a
mhm.
therapist? I would have been good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But there's no point regretting. And I didn't study therapy, and I'm glad I didn't, because maybe I wouldn't have liked the academic style of
Mhm,
teaching. Maybe it would have also,
mhm,
I think it has its own stigmas. And now, look, I'm not a
mhm,
therapist, but I've studied coaching and NLP, so neuro linguistic programming, and in a way, it's linked to the
mhm,
subconscious. It helps to understand.
mhm.
It's kind of related. It's not therapy, but it's kind of an addendum to therapy, I would say. So in a way,
Of course.
I'm still helping people feeling better with themselves and getting to know themselves better. So it's kind of a
Mhm,
roundabout way to at the end do something. It's kind of you didn't study art, but now you're back at it in your own way.
mhm, mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I think for me, it's I always feel like I don't have the technical part around art, so I always feel because I don't have the basics basically. I never studied, but at the same time, so you're right because you're more free to learn, and also nowadays with the workshop online, there are a lot of artists nowadays that they learn by themselves. They're self-taught. So yeah, definitely. And it's all about do you believe that you can learn something? Do you believe that you can become something? It's all on you what you believe that you can achieve.
Yeah, and do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy drawing? Do you enjoy when you're doing it, even if it's hard? Do you enjoy?
Absolutely.
About technique, I have to say, I didn't learn any technique in my school. It was very. I learned the philosophy of do it by yourself and figure it out. That was what we learned. So it's a great skill. Figure it out on your own. That's a great, great
Mhm.
skill. But I didn't learn much about technique. That's why I thought, when
Okay.
they say when the teacher told me your drawing skill is bad, I was I thought, okay, why don't you teach me then? Why don't you
Mhm,
teach me
yeah.
one good
Good
skill
point.
and help me to master the skill if you think I'm not good? But
Mhm,
no, it
mhm,
was, oh, you're not good, and that's it. End of the
mhm,
story. That's
mm,
strange. So
mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
we
mhm.
can always learn. And that's why learning your fifth house placement can give you
Yes.
clues as to it's not gonna tell you, okay, drawing is better for you or sculpture is better for you. It's
Mhm,
not this kind of direction, but it can
mhm,
give you
mhm.
some sorts of direction.
Yeah, yeah, how to use your creativity, of course.
Can you go briefly? Can you give us some tips around that briefly? So for the listeners who don't really know, so they can look at their fifth house placement, and maybe we can't go through all the signs because it's a lot, but I don't know, maybe I don't know, it's just the idea of the moment. Can we break it down into the four elements? What do you think? Do you think it can give some interesting clues if their fifth house is in a water, fire, earth, or air house?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. I wonder if, like, for example, if it's a water sign, I guess that it's a matter to because water is very much connected with your emotions, and so maybe it's a way for you to really feel connected with your emotion, with your being creative. You kind of need to feel it, what you're doing. And instead, for example, for fire sign, fire is a very strong element. It's all about passions, and so I think you really need to feel pushed to do something. You need it's a matter to follow your instinct, sorry, and not to overthink too much. So if you have the instinct to, I don't know, paint in that moment, let's do it. Or if you have the instinct to create something, to build something, do it without overthinking. Oh, I don't know how to do it, etc., etc. And for the earth sign, it can be mostly what helped you to connect with your body, what helped you to be grounded. So any creative activity that helps you with that. And sometimes I think we think about creativity just only about drawing, painting, or sculpting, but sometimes it can be also writing, something more intellectual. And it makes me think about the air sign, because air sign it's a lot about writing, communication. So you can also be creative in that way.
Totally. Yes, that's interesting. So air signs are Libra, Gemini, and
Aquarius,
Aquarius. Fire signs are
Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius.
okay. Then we have Earth signs, Taurus,
Earth
Capricorn, and Virgo,
and Virgo, yes,
and the water signs.
are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces.
Okay, so to sum up, you can look on your chart, the placement of your fifth house. So you would look on the kind of astro wheel, the number. It's like little I call them camembert slices.
Oh yes, they're like yeah, there's like a slice of pizza. They looks
Slice
like
of
a slice of
pizza.
pizza.
The Italian woman said
Yes.
the slice of pizza. The French
Yes.
one said the cheese slice.
Oh yes, yes as well.
But yeah, basically that,
Yes.
and you look where is the five, and then you go to
Yes.
the outside of the wheel, and you see which sign is there, and it will give you
Hmm.
some clues on how your creativity can find some
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
ways to express itself, and yeah,
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
cool.
And I just would like to add that when you do that, when people do that, to use the whole sign system in your chart, which is a bit different from Placidus, because on Placidus it can be a little bit less uh, tidy, let's say. Instead, with the whole sign, you have every house, which every sign and every planet which fall into a specific house. Instead, in Placidus, it's a bit less like that. It's a bit more mixed up, let's say.
Yeah, there's some overlap.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay, great tip. Thank you.
Mhm.
So
No
that's the
worries.
first, that's the second of assignment. The first assignment was look at your sun, rising, and moon to understand more about your core, your
Hmm.
appearance,
Hmm. Yeah.
and your emotions.
Hmm.
Then the fifth house, which gives you some clues about your creativity. And that's it for the first part of our Astrology for Beginners series. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned some new things. And if you already knew about it, perhaps it was a welcome refresher. And yeah, maybe it's an occasion to see things from a different angle. There will be the second part of our conversation where we talk more about the incarnation cross and Chiron. So stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if it has inspired you, please share it around you. Also, if you feel called to it, please subscribe to the podcast and leave me a review. It really helps to spread the word out. All your questions are welcome. You can send them to me on Instagram at rim.creativenergy.com or email me via my website rimcreativenergy.com, and don't worry. I'll share in the show notes exactly where to find me. Until next time, sending you loving creative energy.